Okay, for my favorite part of the brain, I chose the primary visual cortex, and I'm Allison Simpson. And so, where is this located? So, this is located within the occipital lobe of the brain, which occipital lobe has everything to do with sight, and is at the most posterior part of the brain. So, here you can see a brain without any cuts or anything, that is just located at the very back and bottom of the occipital lobe, and then here is a um, visual of the brain where you can see how it goes in and where it's located within, where in the contents of the brain. And then the main functions. So the main functions is the last processing region of the visual pathway, and specifically it specializes in processing information of static and moving objects. So then this area does receive visual information, segments this information, and integrates it. And then so after that process, it sends the processed information to other areas of the brain to be utilized and analyzed. So it has nothing to do with like coordination or anything like that, but it does take the information and then sends it to other places in the brain that has to deal with like coordination and balance and things like that. So, why is the primary visual cortex so important? So, essentially, without this part of the brain, we would be blind. We really wouldn't be able to fully um, integrate the visual process, so we wouldn't be able to see anything because that is the last step in the visual process. So, our brains would not be able to process the visual information being brought in, which leads to no visual information being seen, in quotes. And then here to the right is a little diagram of the process. So we have the different fields are coming into the eyes, and then to the lateral geniculate nucleus, and then it goes back to the primary visual cortex. So without the primary visual cortex, this entire circuit would not be able to work at all, and wouldn't be able to be followed through with. So why is this my favorite part of the brain? So really this part of the brain allows me to see everything in my day-to-day life. So really anything you do, opening a door, opening your eyes, laying down in bed, really anything you wouldn't be able to see. And I have a really big love for different colors and shapes and things like that, especially like different colors while painting, and the different shades of each specific color, which you can only differentiate with this part of the brain. And I've also loved watching the seasons change in the different colors and components that come with the change. So like leaves in the fall, when they turn yellow, red, and orange, and then they slowly fall off. I love watching leaves slowly fall off, especially this time of year, as well as in spring, watching, the snow dry up, and then the grass and spring flowers start to grow. And without that area of the brain, I would not be able to see any of it happening. And also, one of my biggest hobbies is lifting and working out in general. And this part of the brain really allows me to do that. So you could still probably do it without this part of the brain, but it makes it a lot easier. So it allows me to know where my body is in space, and allows me to correctly perform the lifts. So it allows me to immediately know where the weights are and things like that. And if my body's positioned correctly, I can just look down and see that. And without this part of my brain, I would still be able to do it, but it would be a lot more difficult. So, and then just to add to all that information, I just added a few pictures, some of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. So on the left here, I was at a nursery, and you can just see the really pretty colors that comes with this flower that really, without this part of my brain, I would never be able to see. And just like the different details of it, I just think are super cool. And then also on the right, this was from a vacation I had, and it was just the beginning of summer, just watching the palm trees move and the different colors and the bright blue sky and the pool. And without this part of the brain, I just wouldn't be able to experience any of it. I would probably hear the palm trees moving, but that's about it. And then here is my works cited, and that is it. And that is why the primary visual cortex is my favorite part of the brain.